Welcome on this Easter Sunday morning to Pause for Peace. It's April 20th, 2025 when this podcast is being released, which means the Christian world is celebrating the start of the season of Easter. That's right, it's just the start. There are 50 days to the season of Easter. We can celebrate them all 50 days long. I'm so glad you're joining me today, and if you are new to this whole celebration of Easter thing, or if you have found Easter puzzling most of your life, I'm glad you're here because let's break it down a little bit today. And to do so, I want to tell you a little self-revelatory parts of my journey. Forever, it seems like, I trained to become a pastor. At a young age, I was about 19 years old when I experienced this call to ministry, went back to college, dropped political science as my main study focus, switched over to Hebrew class, and declared myself a theology major. I was so young, I can't believe anybody let me do that, and that's what happened. I was so convicted after this encounter with God that I was to follow this path of becoming a pastor in the Presbyterian Church USA. Fast forward to not only a bachelor's degree in theology from Valparaiso University, but moving to Nashville, Tennessee in order to become a student at Vanderbilt Divinity School, where alongside other folks who were getting master's degrees in theology and master's degrees in the divinity of it all, and people who were in Vanderbilt Divinity School's PhD program, getting doctorates, PhD degrees in things like Christian homiletics and Christian history and older New Testament studies, and amazing research going on. There I was, truly engaging my left brain in this whole process of becoming a pastor. I had to move to Nashville early because even though I had had 2 years of Hebrew in undergrad and a year of Greek in undergrad, I still was required to take Intro to Greek in a summer session of Vanderbilt Divinity School. So here I was in Nashville. It was quite a shock as somebody coming from the Midwest back in the early 90s. Life was a little bit different in Nashville then. And everything I did at Vanderbilt Divinity School was read and study and utilize my Hebrew and Greek and memorize all sorts of facts and figures and stories, be in all of these heavy academic classes, write paper after paper after paper, as I had been doing in my undergrad in a special program called Christ College. And so there was so much engaging of the left brain that it actually, in some ways, while it was of great value, it kind of was a little bit of a detriment, because that encounter with God, that whole way of connecting with God, which for me was much more happening through nature and through just times of meditation and prayer and connecting with other people, that was a jeopardy of being swallowed up. When we have such a heavy emphasis on reason and rationing and, figuring it all out, being a part of a theological tradition that is based on systematic theology, which means our dear old Father Calvin, John Calvin, literally came up with the Institutes of Christian Theology, from starting with God and going all the way to the end. I had to learn all of that. It was very much a left brain activity. And yet there was this way that we were sort of languishing on our own as divinity school students, kind of having to find a way to engage prayer practices outside of the classroom, which several of us did, which was kind of a really cool story as well. But what I was lacking was this way of connecting with God. When we're so focused on understanding God, we can lose sight of truly encountering God. when we're so focused on words, and getting the words right, like say like in prayer, we can like miss the connection that can come for us when we simply enter into relationship with God through things like silence, through things like singing. It's just this amazing way that we were created to be able to reason and ration, but also to be able to dream and to be able to vision and to be able to like engage with what is beyond. So I'm going to tell you kind of funny story because I'm going to utilize my left brain to tell you that I've done some reading in the imaginal realm, which Cynthia Bourget does an amazing job of really giving words to what so many experience when we go into a time of quiet, when we either through a practice like transcendental meditation or through like this prayer practice that I lead us in, kind of helping us stay grounded right here in the earth, but going deeper inside, something that comes out of the Coptic tradition, the early Egyptian desert mothers and fathers who were like preserving this way of connecting with God through the spiritual eye of the heart, this hesychism, which I learned from beautiful teacher Megan Watterson, who does so much in-depth work on Mary Magdalene and so much recovering of this way that we can connect through the spiritual eye of our heart. And so there is a way that Easter really calls us to engage both. And if we are just going to come at Easter with our rational, reasoned brain, I have a feeling we're going to go home really disappointed. If we can approach Easter through the spiritual eye of our heart, through truly being able to connect, like literally, we still can connect with the Spirit of Jesus, which is alive. We can connect with the ancestors. We can like dwell with them for a little while when we realize that there is a world beyond just physical nature. There is a world of the Spirit. And this is a way that we can engage with like the spirit of life and love and light that is ever, ever, ever present, just like beyond our physical sight. I love how the canonical Gospels, the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and the fourth Gospel, often called the Gospel of John, I love how they tell the story of Mary the Magdalene by herself or with a few other women, Mary Salome and Mary a.k.a., which is code for Mary the Mother, how they are the first to greet the empty tomb. These women are going with spices, with anointing oils to the tomb. In fact, the way the stories, the canonical Gospels tell the story that Mary the Magdalene had been there at every step. I talked about that a couple weeks ago, and how she was not only the one that anointed Jesus, like preparing him for burial, but stood with him, as according to the Gospel of John, as did his mother, at the cross, and also watched where he is buried. Mary the Magdalene is seeing where his body is being laid, and she is there. Cynthia Bourget talks about in The Meaning of Mary Magdalene that like it's possible, according to the Gospel of Matthew, that like she never left, that she was there the whole time holding space for what was going on and taking place for Jesus. You cannot understand that if you're just going to come at it with your left brain. Because you cannot understand only with your left brain the way that love can tether us in life in this world and in the life beyond. Love can tether us to another, even if they physically are not with us. And this is part of what the canonical Gospels are wanting us to know. Like Mary the Magdalene is still tethered to. All of Jesus' first apostles are still tethered to him and to the love that they experienced with him, to the amazing things that they saw taking place, the healings that they saw him do, the way that they saw him multiply bread. It just kept on coming and coming and coming so that all had enough. We cannot understand the miracle stories if we're only engaging our left brain. There is a way that this whole Christian faith calls us to be a whole human being, to use well the left brain that reasons and that has logic and that can study ancient stories and can understand what they mean for us today, and use the right brain to vision and to dream and to see that God is still at work today. This is the amazing miracle of Easter. This is something we must engage as a whole human being, that we truly also might have our own encounters with this living force that is life. It's something that is still present and around us all over. And we still can be tethered, that love that is between us and even those who have died, who no longer are physically among us, they still are alive. There is that soul of them that is still alive and still connects us ever with them. Whew, these are big leaps. I know we're being asked to take in the faith, but when we actually encounter God and our ancestors and this amazing living spirit of Jesus through meditation, we know that there's so much more than what we physically can see. This is what Easter is all about. It's what we are called to not only believe, but also to put our trust in, that life is what continues to reign. I will tell you that I had this amazing experience one Easter when I was preparing to preach. I was digging deep into the Greek, again, using my left brain, digging deep into the Greek, reading all sorts of commentaries, and was oh my gosh, it just clicked that the word being used in the canonical gospel for Jesus resurrecting, for Jesus being alive, is actually, when you break down the word, it means again standing up. Again standing up. There is a way that breaking down that word resurrection just shifted my whole understanding of what Easter is all about and made it this personal encounter. It still gets me a little teary to think about, because I can look at my own life. I know you can too. And I can see the times, I'm getting teared up. I can see the times where I was low. I was not well. I was heartbroken. I felt absolutely shattered. Dreams shattered, hopes shattered, relationships shattered. And yet, I'm still standing. There was a moment that I again stood up. When I look back at my life in light of resurrection and understanding what that word means, I have this sense that this is truly what it's all about, because I know in my own experience that I too have resurrected. I too am again standing up. And there is a way that when we engage the left brain and the right brain, we have conviction like no other. Because when we know in our own being that we again have stood up, that we have scraped ourselves off the floor, maybe after we lost the job or lost the relationship, or literally had somebody who meant the world to us died and passed away, we thought we would never be able to go on. But we again stand up. Just like Jesus, we are once again alive. There is a way that there is a conviction that cannot be taken away from us when we have that bodily experience of anything, of resurrection, of love, of light, whatever it is, there is a way that we know it cellularly because we've lived it. This is why it is so important to approach Easter not only with our brain, left brain, but also with the right brain, with our heart, with the spiritual eye of our heart. There's amazing things we will know and see and believe when we incorporate and become a whole integrated human being and approach stories like Easter, stories like our own resurrections all along the way. I'm going to talk more about Mary the Magdalene and her experience of Easter as these weeks go by. But right now, I want us to move into the spiritual eye of our heart. I want us to have an experience this Easter week of being able to encounter God. So let's get ourselves quiet. If you have an opportunity wherever you are to get your feet flat on the earth, you know, if you've been following Pause for Peace, I'm all about being grounded in this earth. Because again, we can stand when we're grounded well in this earth. When we're not grounded, I work with clients, like when we're not grounded, there's anxiety that comes in our body. There's fear that comes in our body. I mean, that's part of what I help clients with. That's part of what I work on my own like system with, like being well grounded so that my own spirit is centered and my own being is solid here. And I have a sense of safety in this world when I am well grounded. No matter what has happened in my past, I can stand solid here. So get yourself well grounded in this moment. Feel the earth under your feet. The energetic cord that ties you from the bottom of your feet all the way down deep into the earth. And take a deep breath, if you will. Wow, this is so not left brain, is it? But take a deep breath. And release. Like we can study breath and oxygenation and cells and the parasympathetic nervous system, and we can study it all and know that when we take that deep breath and hold it and then release, our parasympathetic nervous system actually settles down. So we can study that and utilize our left brain, but at the end of the day, we got to do it. So right now, we're going to utilize our actual heart, our actual spiritual eye of the heart, utilize our right brain and take another deep breath. Hold it at the crest of the breath before you release. And notice deep within that your parasympathetic nervous system is settling down. You can't know that until you actually notice it by doing it. So take another deep breath. Hold it at the crest of the filling before we release and empty. And when we empty, we are giving back to the world the oxygen, the carbon dioxide that the trees actually need, that the plants need. They give us oxygen. We return the gift of carbon dioxide. It's a beautiful gift. Reciprocal connection. Take another deep breath. Receive from the whole creation around you before you release to the whole creation around you. This is the way that we are interconnected, like Jesus and Mary Magdalene in that beautiful resurrection garden. And in the quiet, at the start of this season of Easter, you may have things that are on your heart and mind that you might want to put before Spirit today, put before God today to get some insight into, or you may be interested and willing to follow my prompt. So I'm going to invite us, as we're grounded, our breath continuing to bring us back, opening the spiritual eye of our heart through the center of our chest. Our breath can assist with that. I'm going to invite us to connect with the Spirit of God living deep within. I mean, living all through us, but for me, I think about it as this like foundational spirit that is deep within, that animates the whole of my being. But I want to connect with that part of myself, which is the part of myself that is God, which is beyond me, which is what connects me with all other things and with God. And I want to invite us to pose the question for Spirit to show you how in your own life you have resurrected, how in your own life you again have stood up. Let Spirit unfold that for you, because you may not know yet. You might feel like you're at the bottom, struggling with whatever has brought you down. So let Spirit show you how in your own life you have experienced resurrection. You again have stood up. There's a resilience that comes for each one of us when we can link together these beautiful little pearls of our experience in our life. When life reigned, when we stood up once again. And if during this process some tears come, just let them come, let it go. When we stifle our emotions, they get stuck. If we just ride the crest of them for 90 seconds, we'll see how we can be transformed. If you're getting pulled off, just bring yourself back with your breath, getting yourself back grounded, connected once again with the Spirit, the great Spirit that is within. Energy follows intention and breath. Let that be your mantra. Energy follows intention and breath, which is just another way of saying that energy follows breath and our prayers. That's why our prayers are so important. So we stay connected in these moments with Spirit. Spirit might actually be showing you, like maybe Spirit is showing you when you literally picked yourself off the bathroom floor and began again. Perhaps that's an experience you've had. You might have cried a river, and eventually those tears were done. And after all of that releasing, a new energy came. an opportunity for you to be filled in a new way once all of that had just been cleared out. Let's offer gratitude within, gratitude to God for all the ways we have stood up once again, but all the ways in these moments of stillness we've been reconnected with that truth in our own lives. We've encountered resurrection once again because we have lived it, or we're living it right now. We're in the middle of it right now, going through that process right now. When we're ready, we can take a final deep breath. Hold it at the infilling before we release. And again, our experiencing our parasympathetic nervous system settling down through our breath. It's a beautiful gift. It's why breath work is so important. When we're ready to come back to awareness with one another. So I don't know what was revealed to you in this time of stillness, and I understand that some of us, even when we plead with Spirit to show us, we still don't see how we again have stood back up in our own life. I mean, some of us have experienced some really horrific things, or are still in the middle of experiencing those very horrific things. And some of us might have had horrific things happen to us that our own system has kept from us, has suppressed, because we weren't in a position yet to be able to be strong enough to then kind of unpack and deal with what we've experienced. Some of the things that we experience as young children, we're too young, our like whole development can't happen, and if we weren't in a safe place at the time, we can't. Our systems will just protect us until we are at a place in our life where we have the support and the like ability psychologically and spiritually to begin to unpack some of that. I totally understand that. And so if this pause for peace was a time that just led to more tears for you because you couldn't see any way that you again have been standing up, or maybe all you could see is like, I've never had any trouble in my life. Like, you know, maybe that's been your experience. I doubt it if you really are listening and paying attention. Even the like most advanced among us have had something that has been a great challenge to them, if they're paying any kind of attention. So if you had nothing revealed in this pause for peace today, I want to just let you know that that's okay. Because the beautiful thing is, there's probably 5 of us for every one of us who actually could look back on our life and could see all of the ways that we like were at the bottom and yet aren't there anymore. And one of the things that's so important, and one of the really things that the whole Christian story is about, is telling those stories. Like, part of why we tell this whole story of Jesus again standing up is because it's like a key way for us to know that that happens for all of us. And so the more that we can share those stories with one another, the more we can share, like, you know, after this horrible loss in my life, like, it might have been like really challenging for a really long time, and grief might have been taking me under for a really long time, and yet now I'm here and I'm standing up and I'm ready to like move forward in what's next. Many of us, from the ways our hearts have been broken, Myra Star talks about this. Like, Myra Star right now is this amazing inner spiritual teacher who is all about grief work right now, because she is at kind of like, maybe not over it, but she's at a different place in her life where she can look back at the shattering loss of her child when her child was just 14 years old. And she now can see the ways that she's able to journey with other people through loss, through grief. She's able to see the ways that she has really integrated that loss, even though it comes around again and again and again. It'll pop up when least expected. And yet there's a way that her shattering pain can actually be life-giving, not only for her own experience, but for others today. That doesn't mean any of us want any of these horrible things. Jesus did not want to die. The prayer, according to the Gospel of Luke, that he was praying in the garden was, please take this cup from me. I don't want to go through this shattering of my body, and fear that his own spirit might be shattered as well. He is able to make that turn in his prayers and say, but not my will, God, yours be done. There's a way in his immense spiritual enlightenment that Jesus, has this deep integration of being the true anthropos, the one that is fully God, fully human. He got it figured out. And there is a way that he is able to trust that even if I'm going to be shattered in this horrible crucifixion, I trust that's not the end. I trust that I again will stand up. It's what he's trying to show us and teach us and encourage us to share with others, because we have to tell our stories of standing up again so that those who are feeling down in the dirt right now, who feel like life is totally over, will be able to have that support and be able to believe again that it is possible for the next breath to come. It is possible for life to prevail. Folks, I hope that you have an amazing experience of Easter. Not just an encounter with ancient text where you can understand a little bit deeper and reason out a little bit more what this whole Holy Week Easter thing is about. I hope you actually have an amazing encounter grounded in the past, grounded in the lessons that we have from ancient texts and the stories we have from people of faith, but also an encounter that opens you to the way that the power of life in your own being, in your own journey, continues to reign, continues to allow you to again stand up. Blessings for the beginning of this season of Easter. I look forward to seeing you all throughout these next 50 days.